And I will say against stubborn forces and money interest, and she has not laid down. So I want to give you credit and publicly commit to getting this to the finish line. So I want to just say that. And in terms of item 6, I also support this ordinance. I'm excited about it. And as many have already shared, I believe the way we get out of this housing crisis is through a three-pronged approach: increased supply, stabilization, and subsidy. And this program here meets the last one, and I think we've already begun the first, and so I look forward to really also making a serious effort on the second. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion on items 6 through 10. Councilman Goncalves.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank my colleagues for their support on this particular ordinance. I just really appreciate it. Every comment that has been made has been just super helpful to this discussion. I think this is going to be an ongoing discussion that we have as a body, and I know we're all going to hopefully operate in good faith as we talk about everything that is before us. And I just want to say thank you for your help and your sponsorship and your support. We know that people need immediate relief. They need that relief right now. And so that is what this problem is trying to solve. And it's going to go to the people who, again, need it the most. Direct subsidy with priority of people between 60 to 80% of AMI if they've got that utility bill or they've got an emergency payment that they need to make in order to stay in their homes and to prevent people from being displaced. And then for number 7, I just want to say thank you to Councilor Peterson. I know that in my neighborhood, Councilor Peterson is a star. Because, well, no, seriously, and I would say the reason is because she's really taken the bull by the horns as it relates to these student housing priorities. And I know we've got a lot of work to do along those lines, and she's been, I would say, arguably this entire term, the preeminent champion of student housing policy. And we sometimes won't always agree. We might agree to disagree. I think that's a part of the process. But I will say that everything that she has put forth related to student housing has been really thought out and well-intentioned. And she's been working tirelessly this entire term to try to get some of these pieces of legislation passed. So I'm just here to be on the record, to say this on the record. I hope that as a body, we truly, truly help Councilor Peterson advance some of these things that have been a priority since the beginning of this term. We're now in year 4. I don't think that in a perfect world, I was there too in my first term where I was so ambitious and I wanted to get everything done, and sometimes that's not possible. But I really, really hope that some of the ordinances that she has proposed, we will get across the finish line before this term is up, and we help, deliver on those important priorities and promises she has made to her constituents, but also their important priorities for other neighborhoods across the city, including mine. So I just want to say thank you, Councilor Peterson, and I look forward to continuing to work with you on the ordinances that you have put forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, 6 through 10. Councilman Vargas, and then we're all very polite tonight. Deputy Majority Leader Harris.
I usually stand because I know my colleagues always say things so well, and they always say exactly what's in my heart. But I have to stand right now because I want to reflect back on the first time that I walked into this building and with the heart around housing, and really bringing that into the council to really, for us to advocate and to make it a priority, to make it a part of our legislation, to be engaged in housing and understanding how we can move housing better. I'm standing here because I'm getting ready to leave the council, and I can tell you, deep in my heart, I am feeling really good about what has happened, especially within this administration and within this period of time, around how much the city has invested and thought clearly about how do we make sure that people are staying in their homes, how do we make sure that the homeless are not freezing and dying because they have no shelter, and also, how do we start to really, really attack these things, these different things that for years and years, politicians been kicking it down the road as if it was not important. We're in this problem, housing crisis, because nobody wanted to take it on. Of course, we're going to have different opinions. Of course, we're going to see things differently. Of course, because it's a big thing, and not too many people have been able to deal with it. But I want to say how proud I am of my colleagues and the people I've been serving with, because you took it on, it's serious, it's a part of our legislation, it's a part of what we are trying to do for the city, and a part of keeping people in their home. And I can't say how happy I am as I lead the council that this is going to be left in really great hands. And Councilwoman Peterson, yours is the toughest between Airbnbs and student housing. We got to figure it out, because families need homes too, and we need to keep creating families. And how can you create families? How do you have families if you have no home for them? So thank you for allowing me to say that for my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Vargas?
It's only, yeah.
You want to talk first?
Yes,
Go ahead.
please. Wow. Hello, everybody. I'm glad that we're here together. For the ordinance 6, I always give it a little brief for the Providence, Rhode Island. I say Providence, Rhode Island because it's not for the whole state, it's only for the Providence. Give it a little hope. That's why I say hope. Darle un poquito de esperanzas a nuestra gente que can apply for that, and also que we can qualify for this, that money que we can give it, we receive and we give it back, because that's what we need. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilman Vargas?
Thank you, Madam President. I raise number 6 because we know that we're going through a crisis, and everybody, my colleagues, want to help everyone. But we have to do a balance. Remember, the property owners are the ones who pay the taxes for this city to run. We had to make a balance, and that's why this ordinance is putting $1 million aside to help those people who really need. We're not going to pay the full rent, but sometimes you fall short, $100, $200, $300. It's a huge opportunity to help our community not to get evicted, and at the same time, we're saving the property owners a headache, because to evict somebody is not easy. It's not easy for the tenant, it's not easy for the property owner neither. It costs money both ways. And I would like to ask my colleagues to think about it when we put these kind of local laws or city laws called ordinance, to think twice. Number 6 is a good one, and that's why it's going to get referred to hope. Hope means, in Spanish, esperanza. And I know every single member of this committee have hope for a better life, a better city, a better future. And I'm very proud to support this one, and now it's in the hands of this committee. Please consider, think about it, how useful this ordinance will be. But at the same time, let's think about no property taxes, no service. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, items 6 through 10. Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll keep my remarks brief as most of the important substances has been shared. But I just want to speak very quickly on 7 and 6. Adding my voice to the choir, definitely want to just share my gratitude and support to Councilwoman Peterson for her leadership on this very difficult task. I don't envy any of my colleagues that have a lot of student housing. 'Cause there's a lot of challenges. Obviously, some positives, attending parties here and there. I'm sure you guys do. But what I want to truly say, though, is that we not only need to support our colleague in the passage of this ordinance, but the implementation of it. We have seen in the past, and I'm not going to get into specifics, my council colleague here pass ordinances, and the administration just simply doesn't enforce it for whatever reasons, and I want to make sure that this ordinance doesn't, also become one of those. It's no point of passing an ordinance if the city isn't going to implement. So whatever we need to do to make sure that this ordinance is fully implemented and enforced, we all need to have Councilwoman Peterson's back and support on that, and I'm truly committed to do that. And for the record, you're a superstar in every award, not just. And just quickly on item number 6, I obviously want to give my colleague, Councilman Gongovs, a lot of credit and gratitude for his leadership on this ordinance. Because this ordinance is going to help people that need the help the most and now. As you all are much aware, I've spent some years of my life working with our unhoused neighbors, and that's who I think that of who this is would help the most. Folks that need that little bit of assistance to get into an apartment, or might have issues with substance abuse and lost a job on a very temporary basis to get back on track. But I also want to voice some of the other things that have been shared in the sense of this isn't, intended to attack or cure or replace the core issue at hand. And the core issue at hand is extremely high rents. This isn't going to lower rents. This isn't going to create more housing. What this is going to do is provide that temporary relief, which, like my colleague Roy has mentioned, is part of the multi-pronged approach that this council has been truly invested in. And I do have, some amendment ideas that I will share in committee. But I just want to close my remarks by saying I think this is a very positive step in the right direction. It falls into the priorities of this body. And I also want to give a lot of gratitude to my colleague for his leadership on this. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Counselor. Further discussion, items 6 through 10.
Madam President.
President Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam President. I'll speak on item number 7 and number 6. Ditto to the efforts and the strong, passionate representation in your ward, Councilwoman Shelley Peterson. I think that it speaks to the volume of how the dedication that you have. I think it resembles all of our dedication in this body. And so I think that you have already the support of the majority, so this one's going to be an easy one in my committee. Thank you. On number 7, I think looking at how we all signed on to this, because I think for the first time we're all behind this, because we've all acknowledged that we're in a crisis that we see it in our neighborhoods. I commend the mayor for quickly acting and proposing this rent, this ordinance or resolution and this plan, and that he already knew what our constituents need and for our communities and our families to get to the next level, so that way they don't end up on the street. I think that we didn't need a study to figure out that we need to continue to help our families and our kids in our community. So I commend him for that. I commend all of us for signing on. I commend also Councilman Goncalves, who's also has received that message from us. And as we move forward, seeing the economic challenges that we face in our state, in our country, and especially during this time that we see that's going to get even harder. Imagine this time around, these proposals are super crucial and that we need to get it right. That's why I also signed on. This needs to be a package. We as a city council have done tremendously in terms of addressing some of the housing. Councilman Roy has mentioned, and people keep saying that we need the three: more housing, subsidy, what was the third one? Stabilization. But I also need and that we continue to work on, is the help the homeowners need for those who have been living in their homes and need that help with that boiler. That we need to continue to replenish that money so that way they can remain in their homes. So it's a package. And lastly, as we continue to debate and look at the studies and look at the numbers, just look at our medium income in the districts that we represent, and then ask yourself, who do we represent? And I hope that as we continue to deliberate during this crisis, that we keep those things in mind. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, 6 through 10. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Madam Clerk, please refer item 6 to the Committee on Finance, 7 to the Committee on Hope, 8 to the Committee on Finance, 8, 9, and 10 to the Committee on Finance.
So noted.
Item 11,
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 11 and pass on a voice vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 11? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please open the vote.
Madam President, before she open it, could we have that read into the, this is number 11? please?
Certainly. Madam Clerk, thank you.
Whereas Thunder, a Clydesdale horse who was part of the Providence Police Department's mounted command, has passed away at age 12. And whereas Thunder honorably served the city of Providence and its residents since his arrival in 2019. And whereas Thunder shared a special bond with Officer Jose Mendez and Sergeant Stephen Corville, who will both deeply miss him. And whereas, as an honorable member of the Mounted Command, Thunder was responsible for marching in parades, greeting adults and children during tours of the stables in Roger Williams Park, and assisting in crowd control efforts at large public and private events. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Providence expresses its gratitude to Thunder for his years of service towards this city and its residents, and expresses its condolences to Officer Mendez, Sergeant Corville, and the Providence Police Department Mounted Command. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be transmitted to the Providence Police Department Mounted Command.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Councilwoman. Please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is now closed. You have 12 ayes, 3 absent. The motion carries. The matter is approved on a voice vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 12,
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 12 and pass on a voice vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 12? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is now closed. You have 12 ayes, 3 absent. The motion carries. The matter is approved on a voice vote.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 13,
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 13 and pass on a voice vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 13? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is now closed. You have 11 ayes, 4 absent. The motion carries. The matter is approved on a voice vote.
Item 14.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 14 through 27.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on items 14 through 27. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise on item 14. It's pretty standard. It's the resolution authorizing the sales, actually, of 700 Allen's Avenue, the old DPW building. This is requesting that it be transferred to the PRA agency. I also rise on item 15, which is asking for an outside independent fiscal and a study of the impact that the rent stabilization ordinance will have in the city of Providence. The reason why I put this resolution together, Madam President, is because we had 2 experts, one that was hired by the council and our own expert, Lawrence Mancini from the administration. They look at, in my view, at the same data, and they came back with different information to us. It is extremely hard to make a decision on an ordinance that will have a tremendous impact in the city, and the people of Providence and the taxpayers with information that is not matching. So therefore, I put this resolution together that basically asks for an independent fiscal analysis because I feel that it is extremely important that we have an opinion from a body, from an entity, and from a side that has not expressed interest or favorability on such an important ordinance one way or the other. So that's why I put this together because we need responsible and objective results and numbers here before we make a determination on that. I thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Counselor. Councilman Vargas?
Thank you, Madam President. I rise about number 14 and 15. I want to talk about 14 first. We selling everything we have like a hot potato. The problem is the sellers that we have and this administration, they want to give everything for free. Now I need to know where we're going to be putting the mattress depot. I don't want to make the same mistake that we make for the salt, that we sold the property with the salt in it, and then we didn't have nowhere to put the salt. It's so easy for the administration to go say, oh, we're going to rent it for somebody, somewhere, somehow, paying high rent, and that rent is coming from the taxpayers, including myself, yourself, and yourself. So before we give this to the city, I would like to ask to the chairperson of city property to be careful. They just give it just like that. Ask where we're going to put the mattress drive, the transfer station that we have there. Because under 700 Islands Avenue is where they storage all the trash cans and the recyclers. Remember that. And all directors will say, oh my God, we sold them, we don't know where to put this. No, first of all, we have to find out what we're going to be doing with these departments that is so working so well for the city because everybody bring the mattress every Saturday to the mattress depot. We taking e-waste, computers, televisions, you name it. So the city is getting clean at least, I would say maybe 40%. If we sell this property, remember, you will have a mattress in front of your house. You don't know where to put it. And they will say, oh, bring it to the dump. The dump wants to charge $70 per mattress. And then they will say, oh, call 311. 311 will say, call Waste Management. Then Waste Management will say, put it in a plastic bag. The plastic bag costs you $3 and a nightmare to put it in, especially the mattress is wet. Plus, Waste Management will charge you $38 to pick it up. So we're going to go back 20 years, and this city is going to call the Mattress City. I won't go crazy with 700 Allen's Avenue. Just sell it, yes, because we want to sell it. We've been selling a lot of properties, and we don't know for how much we're selling it. And value, or property value are very high, especially to our own properties. That's why we're paying high property taxes. So that's one. Second, 15. To everyone, this resolution is a good one to find out what will be the impact to everyone. How much rent is going to go up? How much property taxes are we going to lose or gain? How many people will walk out of the city and say, look, I'm not dealing with that council? And then they will walk out, they will bring their business with them, and leave a bunch of people with no jobs. We better get prepared for the future. If one people move and they move the business, that business is taking the jobs with it. And people, they're not going to follow them because we used to work around the corner. And that's why we are here, to do our best, to create good ordinance, good ideas, to help our constituents. That's why we're here. That's why they elect us. So we have to be very, very careful what we wish for, because we might be wishing for something wrong. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Further discussion, 14 through 27. Councilman Goncalves.
Thank you, Madam President. I support this, and the reason why I support this is because I have been consistent, regardless of what anybody says on this issue. Look, I've gotten, since the rent stabilization ordinance has been introduced, I've been attacked by people who disagree with me. I've gotten ridiculed by people who disagree with me. I've been threatened by people who disagree with me. But there's one thing that has always been consistent. Regardless of the issue, I study the issue and I do my homework. I think that when we've got any ordinance, doesn't matter what the ordinance is, especially an ordinance of this magnitude, I think it's crucial that we do our homework. And I just want to say, I know a lot of people are doing their homework. This is not to diminish the hard work that has gone into putting together this ordinance. This is not to diminish the hard work that everyone has done to put this together. In fact, there have been probably hundreds of hours poured into this. But if there's anything that I've learned from my training, and in fact, I've been out of school for quite some time, my higher education. But as some of you know, I'm doing a master's in public administration at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. And one of the things that the practitioners teach you is that it's really, really important to be data-driven in your decision-making. That's always been what I've done throughout my 2 terms in office. Some of my colleagues may not know that about me, but if I go back to my first term, there are budgets that I have voted against because I've looked at the numbers. And if the numbers don't work, then we're doing our constituents a disservice. So I believe, in good faith, we have to look very closely at the implications, good and bad. I'm not here to purport that this thing is good or this thing is bad. That's not my role. My role here is to be objective and to look at the numbers and to make informed decisions, policy decisions, based on the information that I have before me. What I will say is, I have heard the testimony, I've read through the letters, and I've also seen two experts, and we can call them both experts. I'm not going to disparage any of them and say this person's not right, this person's wrong. They are experts. They're both experts. But they're clearly arriving at different conclusions. And I must admit, I have a bias. Larry Mancini has been a part of this city for 40 plus years. Every time we have gone through a budget, I literally will call the assessor's office. I will look at the data. I model the data. I pull up the spreadsheets on my computer. I think about my elderly people on a fixed income in my neighborhood, and I do the math. I look at the tax rates. I say, like, okay, if the tax rate shifts this amount or this amount, what are the implications on that person who lives in my neighborhood? And it's because I'm fighting for the person who I don't want to get displaced because they bought their property in the 80s or the 90s and now it's worth $950,000 because of the reevaluations that we've seen over the years. Look, the numbers don't lie. And I think that this is something that I have been talking to the staff about, is if there is a shift in the tax burden, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $17.5 million, which is a projection that Larry has made. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I want to study it and I want to see exactly what it looks like. So I think it behooves us as a body to invite both of the experts in to, and I know they've shared their piece, and I'm looking forward to talking to Tom. He just sent me an email. I want to hear their methodology. How did you arrive at the conclusion that you arrived at? Which studies did you look at, empirical studies that got you to this number and this outcome? Because truly, if we think about what has happened in our city over the last couple years, and I mean, I can think about some of this stuff off the top of my head. We had an $11 million settlement as a result of the Gonsalves accident. That was a major hit to our budget. We had to raise taxes because of it. That hurt people in our community. I have, again, in the past, voted against budgets because we have raised taxes, because that impacts the most vulnerable people in our community. And with something like this, we can't be, and I know no one's being willy-nilly about it. I know people are taking this really seriously, but we have to really hone in on the data and the numbers. And objectively, having a third party, not Larry, not Tom, because I'm sure there are biases on both sides, saying this is how much it could theoretically cost would allow us to make a better informed decision on behalf of our constituents. The Jamal Gonsalves case, perfect example, a major hit to the budget that resulted in us having to work with our tax rates to do what we needed to do to balance the budget. The $18 million school settlement that we had, for God's sakes. So any shift in the tax burden, whether it be 1.5 million or 17.5 million, it has real implications. And you can say what you want, you can attack me, you can say whatever you want. I've been consistent on this issue. I've been on the record on this issue for years. Go back to every single budget. I literally am on the record about doing my homework and studying the numbers. And I think that's what we need to do here. And I hope that we do it fast, because I'm sure everybody wants to move with urgency. But I do think that having an independent party study the numbers, pulling apart our assessment data, thinking about how it's going to impact our wards, is an objective and a positive thing to do. Again, you may disagree with me, but I really do think that if we're able to undergo that exercise, it's going to give us more confidence about the policies that we put forward. And so I highly, highly encourage this body to not politicize trying to get a third-party independent study, but to let's just do it and see what happens. I think the taxpayers deserve that, and I think we all deserve that as policy practitioners who are trying to make the right decisions on behalf of all of our constituents. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Further discussion, items, Councilman Reyes.
Thank you, Madam President. I am rising to oppose IM 15, not because I am against analysis or transparency, but I do think this resolution is built on, in my view, a misguiding premise that we somehow lack independent analysis. We don't. We already commissioned an independent expert, Tom Seguros, who is not an employee of the city or the city council. He is a public finance consultant, a researcher at Brown, and someone with decades of experience advising governments across this country. He did exactly what this resolution is asking for, which is a careful, transparent, and grounded fiscal analysis of this policy. And what did he find? He found that over the long term, the fiscal impact of property tax collections is likely negligible because the city resets tax rates annually. He modeled the risk, he explained assumptions, he didn't overstate certainty. That's what independent analysis looks like. Now contrast that with what we've been presented from the administration and others. We're told the city, quote, could experience property tax revenue losses ranging from 1.9 million to 3.75 million annually, and under certain modeled conditions, up to 17.5 million. That is an 8-fold range. That's not precision at all. It's really a shot in the dark. And we're told these projections rely on, quote, certain modeled conditions. Yet this council was never told what those conditions actually are. We're also told they rely on, quote, comparable studies. But those studies were never provided to this council either. So we're left to infer. And when you look at what's typically cited in this debate, it leads me to believe they are relying on the same small set of studies that are repeatedly used by the real estate lobby. So which studies are those? Well, let's actually talk about them, because to my colleague's point, I actually did my homework. First, the St. Paul study by Adhern and Giacoletti. This is the study that gets cited to support claims about declining property values, shrinking tax base, and by extension, lost municipal revenue. Those are the same claims we're hearing from this administration and echoed in this resolution. But here's the problem. That's not what the study actually shows. Our chief financial officer, who I happen to think is an amazing man, came before the Hope Committee and said, quote, in St. Paul, property values declined by approximately 4.4% following adoption of rent control. But guess what? Whether he knows this or not, that's not actually what the St. Paul study shows. The 4.4% figure is a modeled relative estimate, not a real drop in prices. The study does not find that property values fell in absolute terms. Prices in St. Paul actually increased after rent stabilization was passed. They just increased more slowly than comparable markets. Here is a direct quote from that study. Quote, after rent control was passed, the average price per square foot in St. Paul increased by $10.84 to $185.02. And more importantly, the entire result is based on a model that estimates what would have happened otherwise, which is counterfactual. That is not an observed reality. And even the authors themselves explicitly caution, and here's a direct quote on the first page of the study. Quote, it is challenging to establish the causal effect of rent control on these outcomes. That sentence matters because the administration is taking a study that relies on assumptions, produces relative estimates, and explicitly warns about causation and uses it to make definitive claims about lost value and tax revenue here in Providence. That is a gigantic leap. And on top of that, the study itself looks at a very specific moment in time right after rent stabilization passed during a volatile post-pandemic housing market. It does not tell us what happens over the long term. It does not isolate all the other economic factors at play, and it certainly does not translate clearly to Providence. Now let's talk about Portland, Maine, because this is another example that keeps getting brought up to support claims about tax base erosion, shifting burdens onto homeowners, and declining property values. And again, those are the same claims we're hearing tonight. But the Portland report being cited is not a peer-reviewed academic study. It is funded by, what do you know, the Greater Portland Board of Realtors. And more importantly, the authors themselves go out of their way to limit how their findings should be interpreted. Let me read this disclaimer directly from the report, because this is what the administration's using. The disclaimer goes like this, quote, the information and commentary provided in this report rely on information and data that are not publicly available. While every attempt is made to validate their accuracy, there may be errors and inconsistencies that may impact the underlying findings of this analysis. Estimates made in this analysis are based on our understanding of the current socioeconomic and fiscal conditions of the region, as well as a set of projections and assumptions that we believe are reasonable. Results of this report may differ from those used by other parties in evaluating the impact of rent control on the distribution of property valuations and burdens. Even if the underlying assumptions are realized, the results of the analysis may vary from actual realized impacts. In no way will Wallace Economic Advisors, LLC, be held responsible or have any liability or be subjected to damages as a result of this analysis or information contained in this report. So colleagues, think about what that actually says. The authors are telling you they can't even get behind what they wrote. They say there may be errors. The results are based on assumptions. The results may not reflect real-world outcomes. And they explicitly disclaim responsibility for those results. That is not definitive evidence. That is a model with caveats. And just like St. Paul, this report does not measure actual outcomes. It constructs a no rent control scenario, comparing it to reality, and calls the difference, quote, a loss. That is not, again, observed data. That's quite literally hypothetical. And even within their own data, property values did not collapse. In fact, many segments saw significant increases. They simply diverged across property types. So again, what we're seeing is model scenarios coupled with what I would call great imagination, layered on assumptions, and presented as real-world impacts. And that's the pattern here. The administration's claim about lost property values, tax base erosion, and shifting burdens are not coming from direct evidence in Providence. They are coming from a model-based study in St. Paul that cautions against causation. and an industry-funded report in Portland that explicitly disclaims its own certainty. And then those are being applied here as if they're settled facts. Meanwhile, the independent fiscal note we commissioned actually explains how our property tax system works, how rates are adjusted annually, and why long-term impacts are likely minimum. That to me is transparent, that to me is grounded, and that's accountable. So I come back to the central question: who is actually providing independent, reliable analysis? The consultant who shows his work and explains the system, or projections built on assumptions, disclaimers, and selectively cited studies? So, colleagues, we already have an independent analysis, and I just think this resolution doesn't add any clarity. I think it reinforces the administration's effort to gaslight this council. So, I will not vote for this, and I urge you to not as well. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilwoman Graves.
For number 14, I agree with my colleague. We have way too many mattresses already out in the streets. If we close this facility, where are we going to put them? The city does not need an added burden or trying to clean this mess up. I think we are in such a hurry to try to sell off some of these properties, but I agree. Where's the money going? How much money are we getting? I'm not getting the information that we need. So why are we, if we're not going to sell them and everybody agrees on a price and agrees on where the money is going, I don't see the need in selling this place. I think we need to have a place where we can drop off stuff, where we can do certain things. And I think we need that property. That's one property that people are aware of, and that's one property that is needed. So I will be voting no on that one. As for 15, thank you for sending me the information. I looked at it. I too did some of my homework and looked again. But my biggest thing that was nagging me is we had 2 evaluations, and it was said that they were biased. Who are we to say they were biased? I mean, and biased to whom? Because I didn't like what was said in one, or I did like what was said in the other one. I think we have 2. And I think all the rest of us can go and look for ourselves. I don't necessarily think we need to be spending more money or need to go out and look for more. I think we need to go ahead and do what we're going to do. I think we've been talking about this for a while now. It's time for us to, as my grandpapa used to say, do what you gotta do on that pot and get up. You know, so we need to start figuring what's going on. And everybody's worrying about the statistics. Those statistics are people. We need to worry about those people that are affected. And the people in this city, the majority of the people in this city are renters. They are not realtors. They are not homeowners. They are renters. So we need to be listening to their voices. So I would be saying no on both of those, because I think sometimes we lose something. Because even all those statistics, they never really speak about the people. Stop doing that. Stop looking at them as just numbers. Look at them as casualties, because that's what's happening. If we just think of them as numbers, that's all they are. They're casualties. And I don't want to see any more casualties in our city. As I said in my prayer, we need to fight to make to make this city a safer, more affordable place to live. And if we're only worrying about what the realtors and what the homeowners, and I'm a homeowner myself, is worried about, then we're losing a lot of people. We really are. And we really need to stop doing that. We need to start thinking about everybody on the whole. And remember, all of us, with the exception of maybe a couple, I'll take that back, but the majority of us are in communities where our people rent. The majority of us, that's in my council sisters on the side of me and my council brothers and sisters on the other side of me. We need to worry about them. Worry about them. Don't worry about these numbers. Don't worry about the letters that you're getting in from Boston and Coventry and Bristol and Barrington and all these things. And thank you so much to our clerk, Tina. I appreciate the way you separated it. I don't know if anybody else paid any attention, but you need to. And then you need to open up your hearts and really, really reflect. Really reflect. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Councilman Sanchez.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councilwoman Graves, for your words. Every time you speak, it really reminds me, of why I signed up to do this work. Sometimes we get lost in the data sheets and the research books, which is important, to be aware of. But at the end of the day, we serve the people of Providence. We don't serve research books. We don't serve data tables. We serve our neighbors, and your words always remind us and point us in that direction. But I quickly just wanted to summarize what my colleague, Councilman Roy, said. Because he said a lot of great words, but there were a lot. But what he essentially said, and it's important to talk about, because that's what we're up against when it comes to policies like rent stabilization. Is there's a lot of influence and capital out there. Let's just take it for what it is. People that have a lot of resources, a lot of money, are going to spend a lot of resources, a lot of money, when their ability to make unlimited resources and amount of money is threatened. And that's the unfortunate reality part of the society that we live in here in the U.S. We have an uncontrollable capitalistic society with no limits, especially for the people that have less. And that's what we're trying to do. We don't want to take anyone's business or way of living. Some folks called it their retirement. We're not trying to do that. All we want to do is have certain predictable mechanisms in place for the majority of people that call the city of Providence home. So that's all I really want to say on that point. Folks have been referencing the two experts that were before us. I know some of us were there. My thing is, if you have questions or concerns of any of their numbers, reach out to them. Mr. Mancini, I'm sure we'll pick up any one of our phone calls, and I'm sure the same is for the consultant, Tom Seguros. If you have questions or concerns about their numbers, which it sounds like some folks do, there's no need to go get another third study, because people are going to have the same questions and concerns. Any study or any number that is given, you're going to have questions and concerns. This is a very comprehensive math equation that folks are predicting. So my ask is, there's no need to duplicate that study. If you have questions, concerns of the existing ones that were provided, reach out to those folks directly and try to get the answers that you're looking for. Thank you, Madam President.
Further discussion, 14 through 27. Anyone who hasn't spoken yet? All right, back to you, Majority.
Madam President, thank you so much. Just want to address number 14. The resolution is not pertaining, perhaps I misspoke, it's not pertaining to the sale of 700 Allens Avenue. It's pertaining to the transfer to the PRA. It's going to go to committee. There'll be time to inquire about it, to talk about it, And then if it does pass committee, it'll come back here, we'll vote on it. It goes to PRA, and then they'll decide which way to go with this property. It's basically just sending it over. And going back again to 15, I thought that I was not going to revisit that, but in response to some of the comments that were made, I'm actually grateful to my colleague because he actually illustrated and saved me time so that I don't have to illustrate again the points that he made. So if you look at those points, you will see exactly why I put this resolution together, because there is a major difference. And to me, and to be honest to the taxpayers, it's only how you look at it. This is a prime example of is a half full or is a half empty, what we refer to a glass with water. It's, to me, it's how you want to look at it. And again, I said this before, let's not be passionate about not seeking information and not about not gaining knowledge as to what type of an impact this would have, because this is probably the most impactful and the most important vote, definitely, that we'll take this year, which will have an impact for many, many years to come. So if I'm offered an opportunity to have real access to knowledge here, to truth number, to a third party, why would I shy away from that when we have the resources to do that and we have the time to do that? Let's not just center around, I heard enough, because I'm sure I definitely have not heard enough. And, you know, I represent my community, and when I vote and I go back to them, I need to explain that. But I'm not going to be able to do that with the information that has been provided to me. I witnessed all of the meetings, because when I was not in person, I was at home watching it, or I was on my phone while I was driving, because I know it's critically important. And it wasn't clear when Mr. Seguros and Mr. Mazzini sat here before the Hope Committee. They did not give clear defining information that I was looking for, because they both look at the same study, they look at the same numbers, and they came up with different answers. They came up with different numbers, which led me to believe that it's how you want to look at it. All right, so I am not ready to touch that glass until I know what's in it. I want to know if it's half empty, if it's half full. So I am not moving, and that's just me, until I get all the information that I need. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilman Goncalves.
Thank you, Madam President. Look, I think we all agree the affordability crisis is the #1 problem we're experiencing in the city of Providence. I grew up in a single-parent household where it was so hard to make ends meet. It's the #1 issue that we're dealing with in the city of Providence. My whole family has practically been displaced from Fox Point because of the affordability crisis, because of urban renewal that happened in the 1960s, because of the redlining that occurred in my neighborhood. I take this stuff super seriously. And I think that, like, everyone's taking this seriously. And I know that, and we're all passionate about it. The implications of any policy, big or small, we need to know, and there's never going to be a silver bullet, but we need to know the implications. I'm going to give you a small analogy because I think you guys can all relate to this. How many times do you have a neighbor or a constituent say, I would love to have a speed lump right in front of my property? I know, given my experience on this council, that if I entertain that, I'm going to get 12-to-1 phone calls from people saying, why did you put that speed lump up? These things are, and that's a small, inconsequential example. We're talking about our entire city budget here. And let's do this for a second. Let's remove the landlords from the equation. Let's remove the renters from the equation, because frankly, everybody is self-interested in this argument. As a renter who actually would benefit from this policy, like I would personally benefit from rent control, this policy, right? We have to remove ourselves from that and say, like, what are going to be both the short-term implications and the long-term implications? And very objectively, I'll go to your studies here too, right? Let's remove all of the studies that have been commissioned by the real estate lobby. Let's look at the study that you had mentioned, the Diamond and the McQuaid and the Keon study. There's a study in San Francisco that, by the way, just so you're aware, because look, this is objective. This is objective. Let me finish here, right? This study says that tenants in controlled units move less often, they experience significant savings, right? Like, that's objective. That's what it's saying in this study. This is a 1994 study about what happened in San Francisco as a rent control market. And by the way, I poured over dozens and dozens of these studies, and I read those disclaimers. I try to figure out who's behind the study, who's actually writing the study, because to your point, there is bias associated with that. And in that same study, right, it said some good things, but it also said some other things, right? It said we exploit an unexpected 1994 law change that suddenly rent controlled a subset of San Francisco buildings and their tenants. And again, this is a study that said, it created less displacement, it created more stability, but it also talked about how it created some challenges, both in the short term and the long term. And that's just like objective, right? Like we can pour through a lot of these studies, and I'm not saying we study this thing to death. Like there's urgency out there. Like we got to do something now. And anybody out there who has an issue with that, we got to do something. Like that's the bottom line. We have to do something. But I would just say that, again, having a third-party study is not necessarily a bad thing to do. I think that I've only known Larry Mancini to be an upstanding professional who, when I ask him about the assessment data or how it's going to impact my neighbors, he's only given me the facts, And again, Tom is an expert as well. I don't mean to go on and on about this, but I just think that this is a big issue that's going to have implications not only on renters, but it'll have implications on homeowners. It'll have implications on the entire city budget. I don't see what's wrong with getting a third-party study on this. And again, like this body can...
Thank you, Counselor. Before we continue, I would remind folks that we are not, and also for any viewing public, there is no vote on these matters tonight. So we will be referring everything before us to committee, where there will continue to be further discussion.
I just think that it'd be great if we could, maybe the body won't agree with that, that's fine. I'm just saying.
All right, Councilman Reyes, did you want to speak?
I'll just be quick. I'm just processing everyone's sentiments here. It sounds like to me that instead of wasting more taxpayer dollars on hiring another consultant, it sounds like we just need more clarity from our CFO and our consulting that we hired. So maybe we just email them, set up a meeting, and say, hey, can you explain your methodology a bit more? Tom, these numbers you laid out that are province-centric, I actually appreciate that. I appreciate it, Tom. I appreciate that you provided province-centric data. Mr. Mancini, can you lay out what you mean by comparative studies? What do you mean by comparative models? Can you lay out that? That's it. I'm not sure what the confusion is, but maybe that's the route to take. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Further discussion on items 14 through 27 before they are referred to committee. for further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? I'm sorry? What's the, Councilwoman? Oh, right, we're opening the vote. No, we're not. We're just voting, sorry, wow, pardon me. We are simply voting to refer these to committee. That is what we were doing on all items 14 through 27. Hearing no objection, the motion passes. Madam Clerk, please refer 14 to the Committee on City Property, 15 to the Special Committee on Hope, and then 16 through 27 to the Special Committee on State Legislative Affairs.
So noted.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 28,
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 28 and pass on a voice vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Councilwoman Peterson.
Hi. If I could please ask the Madam Clerk if you could please read the resolution.
Absolutely. Whereas multiple sclerosis, MS, is a chronic, often disabling disease of the central nervous system that affects the brain, spinal cord, and optic nerves, impacting more than 1 million people in the United States and tens of thousands of residents in Rhode Island. And whereas MS can cause a wide range of symptoms, including fatigue, mobility challenges, vision problems, and cognitive changes, significantly affecting the daily lives of those living with the disease, as well as their families, caregivers, and support networks. And whereas the causes of MS remain largely unknown, and while treatment exists to manage symptoms and slow disease progression, there is currently no cure. And whereas research awareness and advocacy are critical to improving the quality of life for those living with MS, advancing scientific understanding, and ultimately finding a cure. And whereas the City of Providence recognizes the courage, resilience, and determination of individuals living with MS and the dedication of their families, caregivers, healthcare providers, and community organizations who support them every day. And whereas raising awareness about MS encourages understanding, compassion, and community support and inspires collective action to improve treatment options, accessibility, and resources for all affected. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of Providence hereby proclaims March as Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month and expresses its gratitude, admiration, and support for all residents and families affected by MS. And be it further resolved that the City Council encourages residents, organizations, and community leaders to participate in events, advocacy, and educational efforts that raise awareness and provide hope for those living with multiple sclerosis.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. As you were speaking, I realized that this is my third time speaking on MS, and I remember I'm just having a little flashback to the first year when I was very, very nervous to talk about what that was and what it meant to me. And now I'm very proud about speaking on behalf of my neighbors, some people that I've met along the way, and I am happy to be doing this one more time. Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month is often about education, visibility, and understanding the science behind the disease. All of those things, obviously, they matter. But today, I wanted to speak to something a bit more personal. This is perhaps the quieter part of it, and something that awareness doesn't always fully capture. Because MS is not just a diagnosis, it's actually a lifelong relationship with uncertainty. It's waking up every day not knowing what your body's going to allow you to do. It's learning sometimes the hard way that energy is not guaranteed, that strength can very much shift at any given time, and that what felt manageable yesterday may feel unbelievably overwhelming today. Unlike so many illnesses that we talk about, MS is not terminal, but it is lifelong, and that reality carries its own weight. There's no clear finish line, no moment where we can say, this is finally over. Instead, there's a constant process of adjustment, of acceptance, and of learning how to live fully in a body that may not always cooperate. That acceptance is not a one-time decision. and it happens over and over and over again. It happens in all the small moments, in choosing to keep going, in choosing to adapt, and having no choice but to adapt, in finding new ways to do old things, in grieving what almost instantly changed while still holding on to who you are. There is a resilience in that. It's a quiet, steady resilience that often goes unseen. From the outside, MS doesn't always look the way people expect it to, and that's where awareness still has room to grow. Awareness is not just knowing the name of the disease, it's understanding the lived experience. It's recognizing that someone may be struggling even when it isn't visible. It's leading with patience, with empathy, and a willingness to listen. So this month, yes, let's raise awareness, but let's also deepen that awareness. I say this, I'm talking here as I recognize my very best friend who may or may not be watching, it might have gone past her bedtime at this point, but who's currently battling the toughest episode of her MS diagnosis yet. Without her, I don't know that I'd be as resilient as I've become about my disease, or that I would be so willing to be open to talk about it when my friend Melissa Martin, who is here today, asked me to come and speak about it 1 year ago. I ask you to make space for the human side of this, the resilience, the acceptance, the complexity, and the reality of living day to day with something that doesn't define a person, but does shape their experience. With that understanding, that compassion, it's what truly makes awareness matter. I want to take a minute to recognize Melissa Martin. She's here with us today. If I could ask you to stand. Melissa, thank you very much. Just want to give her a round of applause. Melissa asked me to come and speak at La Salette Shrine last year just about my experience with this, and she gave me 10 minutes to speak, and I thought it was the most 10 agonizing minutes of my life because I didn't know what to say. And she made me feel so human in my experience, because I remember getting in my car right after and feeling like I had found a space where that people really understood what I was kind of experiencing in that moment. So I want to give you just a little bit of a background of Melissa. Melissa holds a master's degree in human services, and she's a community organizer trained by the People's Institute for Survival and Beyond out of New Orleans, Louisiana. She's a communicant at St. Anne's Church, and she hosts the annual Area MS Day at La Salette Shrine, which this year will be held on May 30th if anybody wants to go. I just want to give a moment and a little bit of gratitude to Melissa for allowing me to walk into a space where it was completely unknown, but allowing me to feel really comfortable in a way that I don't think I had ever been before. And I just wanted to tell you here and on record that you've been an inspiration to me. So thank you very, very much. I want to just ask us all to take a picture with her at the end of the night, just for all the wonderful work that she's done throughout many years in the space of MS and in her region. So thank you very much. Thank you, and thank you very much, Melissa.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Further discussion on item 28? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, please open the vote.
The vote is open. The vote is now closed. You have 11 ayes, 4 absent. The motion carries. The matter is approved.
Thank you, and I really do want to thank you, Councilwoman, for sharing your story. I know it's not an easy thing to do. As someone who has several family members with MS, it is deeply important and impactful to me, and I appreciate you for it. Thank you. Item 29,
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 21 through 31.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion on items 29 through 31. Any discussion?
Again, me.
Councilwoman Peterson, yes, please.
I told you guys I'd be speaking a lot today. Item number 29 is It's a resolution that recognizes the critical role small businesses play in Providence's economy. In our zip code in 02908, and Councilwoman Graves can attest to that, we've seen a rapid decline in our small businesses. We've had at least 8 or 9 businesses close within the last 8 months. And it really causes a bit of concern for those of us that are trying to figure out how to mobilize our city as we kind of debate these different ordinances to be able to support our community members. This highlights both local challenges and such as multiple closures in the 02908 zip code and disruptions along the Admiral Street corridor, and successful examples from other cities. We're asking for this in the resolution, and it's just basically a study over the course of the next 6 months to help us assess what we can do or utilize as targeted investments and policy strategies to stabilize and grow our small business sector. The 02908 Merchants Collective has done a really great job of highlighting how important the work that we need to continue doing in our small business corridor has to happen. They're doing amazing work with these small businesses in this area, have really just mobilized together to really hone in and try and figure out how to do some of this. But I do believe that our city needs to be supportive of this with us. And so I'm asking for this opportunity to do a study in our neighborhood, but also target it to other wards, because I know that if we're seeing this decline just in our zip code in 02908, I know that the other neighborhoods are also seeing it. We've seen and we've heard of closures left and right, and it is, as we're approaching World Cup and all the different things that might come with an opportunity to bring people into the neighborhood, we want to be able to understand how to also offer opportunity to our neighbors to consistently mobilize the city forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion, 29 through 31? Councilwoman Anderbaugh.
Thank you, Council President. I just rise on also number 29 and thank my colleague, Councilwoman Peterson, for putting this forward. When I talk to small businesses in my neighborhood and in other places across the city, I hear a lot of concern that there are a lot of programs from the state or a lot of programs for either very small micro businesses or some of the really big honkin' businesses that get all sorts of tax breaks and incentives. And our small businesses, who are like the lifeblood of our community, they live in our neighborhoods, they live and work in our neighborhoods. I can speak to the Hope Street corridor, for example. A lot of those owners live like within walking distance of their shops. Their employees live within walking distance of their shops. When we have hard situations in the city, people gather in those shops. Like I was talking with the owner of Stock, and she says after bad things happen, people will just show up and they're like, I don't even want to buy anything. I just need it to be amongst friends. And they are these third spaces. They're both retail, but they're also these third spaces we rely on, and they are not getting the supports. It feels like they're not getting the supports that they need to really thrive. And we are seeing so many closures, even of ones that have existed 40, 50, 60 years, are starting to turn. So I applaud Councilwoman Peterson for this. I just signed on to co-sponsor and hope that it'll be for the whole city as well, including 02906.
Thank you, Councilor. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Madam Clerk, please refer item 29 and 30 to the Committee on Hope and 31 to the Committee on Finance.
So noted.
Item 32.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 32 and pass on a roll call vote.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 32? Hearing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
And the vote is now open. Council President Miller,
Aye.
Deputy Majority Whip Anderbaugh, Councilor Davidson, Majority Leader Espinal,
Aye.
Senior Deputy Majority Leader Gonzalez,
Aye.
Councilwoman Graves, Deputy Majority Leader Harris,
Aye.
Councilwoman Peterson, Council President Pro Tempore Pichardo is absent, Councilor Royas,
Aye.
Councilwoman Ryan is absent, Majority Whip Sanchez, Councilman Taylor is absent, Councilwoman Ana Vargas is absent, Councilman Oscar Vargas. You have 11 ayes, 4 absent. The motion carries. The matter is approved on a roll call vote, and the vote is closed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item 33.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 33.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on item 33? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Madam Clerk, please refer 33 to the claims and pending suits.
So noted.
Item 34,
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 34 and pass on a voice vote.
Second, Madam President.
Any discussion on 34? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Item 35,
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the reading of item 35 and pass on a unanimous rising vote.
Second, Madam President.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? The motion passes.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
motion to waive the, motion to suspend Rule 16B of the Rules of the City Council in order to take a matter not appearing on the printed docket.
Second.
Any discussion on that motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Majority Leader, Madam Clerk, item 36.
Madam President.
Madam President,
Majority Leader,
point of personal expression.
let's take item 36 and then come back. Thank you.
Motion to waive the reading of item 36 and 37.
Second, Madam President.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussions on 36 and 37? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Madam Clerk, please refer 36 and 37 to Finance.
So noted.
Councilman Sanchez, point of personal expression.
Thank you, Madam President. Very quickly, I just want to invite everyone to a very important celebration tomorrow here at City Hall. Thank you to all the amazing women on our colleague council. Let me finish, please. It's an International Women's Day celebration. Big shout out to all of the amazing women who have put this event on. I'll definitely be here in celebration. There is an amazing group of panelists that include Lena Agostini from the Rhode Island Food Bank, Rose Albert from the Rhode Island for Community and Justice, and former Councilwoman Nerva LaFortune. The event starts at 5:30. I expect to see all of my male colleagues here. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you,
sir. Councilwoman Davidson.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to say a quick word to my colleague, Councilwoman Graves, for a very successful Black History Month event that did not happen during Black History Month, but was just joyful, edifying, delicious, spiritual, historical. It was wonderful. And I just want to really thank you for a really thoughtful, terrific evening, celebrating all the different aspects of Black and African American culture in our city. It was great. Thank you so much.
Madam President,
Majority Leader.
being that there's no further business of the calendar, I'll motion to adjourn. And tonight we adjourned in the name of Francisco Jose Batista, who passed away last week.
Second, Madam President.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are adjourned. We will see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please stick around for a quick picture.